For decades, Alcatraz was more than a prison. It was a myth carved into stone and surrounded by cold, violent waters, a place the United States promised the world was escape-proof. The inmates feared it, the guards respected it, and the country believed it. But in 1962, 3 men decided to challenge that belief. Alcatraz Island was designed to kill hope. The cells were small enough to touch both walls with your hands. The concrete was so thick it swallowed sound, and at night the cold winds cut through the bars like knives. Every man who arrived here understood one rule: escaping wasn't impossible, it was suicide. Frank Morris was not like other prisoners, thin, quiet, sharp-eyed. He didn't fight with fists, he fought with his mind. He had escaped prisons in Louisiana, Georgia, and Florida. Everywhere they put him, he found a way out. Eventually, the government said, "Enough, send him to the Rock." They believed Alcatraz would break him. They were wrong. In nearby cells lived 2 brothers, John and Clarence Anglin. They grew up poor, swimming in icy lakes every winter. Water didn't scare them. They weren't violent criminals. They robbed banks, but never harmed anyone smart, patient, quiet. The moment Frank met the Anglin brothers, an idea began to form. 3 men, 3 minds, one impossible dream. Frank noticed something strange above the sink in his cell, a rusty ventilation grill. The metal was old, weak, ignored. Behind it was a narrow utility corridor running behind the entire cell block, an invisible highway. If they could reach it, they could move unseen. With nothing but a stolen metal spoon, Frank began carving through the concrete. Night after night, stroke after stroke, he scraped away at the wall. He hid the dust in his pockets and flushed it down the toilet. One wrong sound and he'd be beaten or thrown in solitary. But Frank never slipped. The Anglin brothers dug through their vents too. 3 holes, 3 tunnels, one path toward freedom. Behind the cells was a dusty, forgotten space where no guard ever checked. The upper utility corridor, most men thought it was useless. Frank and the Anglins turned it into a workshop, a secret lab where they built something insane, a full inflatable raft, made entirely from stolen raincoats. They took more than 50 raincoats from the prison laundry. Bro, if you're watching this right now, do one thing: hit that subscribe button. More crazy true stories are coming, and you don't want to miss the next one. Cut them apart, glued them together using melted soap, and sealed the seams with heat from the prison pipes. They built paddles from stolen wood, and even created a machine to inflate the raft. A prison accordion turned into a homemade air pump. But the most brilliant part of the plan was the fake heads. They molded them from soap, toilet paper, and real human hair taken from the prison barbershop, painted the skin color, shaped the facial features, placed them on their pillows at night with blankets curled like sleeping bodies. When guards walked by with their flashlights, the men appeared fast asleep. For months, the guards never noticed. June 11th, 1962, a moonless, cold night, the kind of night when even the ocean seemed asleep. At 9:30 p.m., the lights went out. The prison fell silent, but 3 men lay awake, hearts pounding, waiting for their moment. At 10:30 p.m., the hallway outside their cells became still. Frank moved first. He lifted the vent grate and slid into the tunnel behind the wall. The Anglin brothers followed, but their 4th partner, Alan West, wasn't so lucky. His vent was stuck. The cement had hardened. He begged the others to help, but time was running out. If they waited, they would all be caught. Frank whispered a quiet apology, and the men disappeared into the darkness without him. Frank, John, and Clarence crawled through the pipes above the cell block, moving like shadows hidden in the skeleton of the prison. They reached the roof. The wind hit their faces. Below them, guards patrolled with rifles. Searchlights sliced across the yard. One loud noise, one slip, and they were dead. They slid down the far side of the prison roof and reached the rocky shore. Behind a cluster of boulders, exactly where they had hidden it, lay their makeshift raft. They inflated it using their homemade pump. The raft rose slowly, silently. At 11:30 p.m., the 3 men pushed off the island and let the ocean swallow them. The cold water splashed over the raft. The current was violent, dragging them toward the Golden Gate. But the Anglin brothers had swum in freezing lakes their entire childhood. They paddled with everything they had. Behind them, Alcatraz disappeared into darkness. Morning came with chaos. At 7 a.m., a guard tapped Frank Morris's blanket to wake him. The fake head rolled off the bed and shattered on the floor. The guard screamed, "Escape! Escape! Escape!" Sirens erupted across the island. Helicopters took off. Police boats sliced through the bay. The FBI arrived instantly. They found a homemade paddle floating near the shore, a waterproof bag, some pieces of raincoat material, footprints leading toward the water, but they didn't find what mattered most. No bodies, no raft, no men, nothing. The ocean had erased the truth. For 17 years, the FBI hunted for answers. They checked hospitals, prisons, foreign countries, life insurance records. They tracked more than 700 reported sightings. Officially, the government said the men drowned. The water was too cold. The currents were too strong. But privately, the agents weren't sure, because strange things began happening. The Anglin family received unsigned Christmas cards. The handwriting looked like the brothers. Two tall men were seen visiting their mother's farmhouse in Florida, wearing fake beards and speaking softly. And in 2013, a letter surfaced claiming, "My name is John Anglin. I escaped from Alcatraz in 1962. I am alive." Handwriting experts tested it. It matched, but not perfectly, and the letter was too old, too contaminated to confirm. The truth slipped away once again. So what really happened that night? Did the three men drown in the freezing dark? Did the currents pull them under? Or did they reach land, disappear, and live quiet lives under new identities? No bodies were ever found. No bones ever washed ashore. No raft was recovered. No man was ever proven alive or dead. The world may never know what happened after the raft drifted into the fog, but one thing is certain. On June 11, 1962, three men challenged the most secure prison in America. They used brilliance instead of violence, patience instead of force, creativity instead of chaos. And for one night, they won. They escaped Alcatraz, and they were never seen again. Some stories end with truth, others end with silence, but this story ends with legend.